And a lot of people will be thinking that, industrial properties don't make money. Why? Because it's only a 30
30
years
years
lease.
or 60 years.
Of now, most of new launches, factories are actually 30 years lease only.
Correct.
Yeah, so does it even make sense for you to actually come in and buy this property? For investment, for own, not own stay, own use. Hi, welcome to Sportcast SG. This is David.
I'm Audrey.
Alright, today what we're going to do is to dive deep into this important thing. Industrial property in Singapore. Is it an opportunity or is it an expensive mistake?
Yes, correct. Everybody in Singapore is talking about condos, especially this weekend, isn't it?
Of course, Tenant Garden sold so well.
Bella Bay,
Yeah.
and also Rivel, the EC.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but today we are talking about something else, which is really on the factories, the industrial properties. And a lot of people will be thinking that, industrial properties don't make money. Why? Because it's only a 30
30
years
years
lease.
or 60 years.
Of now, most of new launches, factories are actually 30 years lease only.
Correct.
Yeah, so does it even make sense for you to actually come in and buy this property? For investment, for own, not own stay, own use.
For factories, warehouses, even B1, B2 units, right? This is where a lot of investors, they are quietly making the money also.
Okay, but I'm sure there are also others who are stuck for years because, their initial mindset and concept was actually wrong.
So actually the question is, should you even look industrial property?
Okay, I think what we must understand is this: industrial properties are not like residential. You don't just buy, wait, and expect the price to go up. In fact, many industrial units don't appreciate much.
Correct. But why?
Because industry is driven by business demand, not lifestyle. So you cannot say that, because of facilities, because of location, because of anything else, the price will come up. And where the businesses are actually moving towards.
I think this is where a lot of people got it wrong because they will jump straight into buying because no ABSD and things
Yeah,
like
because cheap ma.
Yeah.
Quantum is low, no ABSD, my second property, you know, and then
Yes.
I have an expectation of 6 to 7% rental yield, and then I expect to make a profit even after I sell off in 10 or 15 years time.
Correct. But what do you think is most important? Even, before I want to jump into industrial property.
I think it still boils down to our framework, which is the C.L.E.A.R framework, because in any purchase of property, I think the most important part is really your clarity.
Yep.
Okay, now why are you even buying industrial?
Yeah, is it for own businesses?
Investment, rental income, or because each purpose, right, will lead to a different outcome.
Yes,
And you also
correct.
decide on which property industrial property you should be looking into. Yeah, so what I saw was, last time my client made a very, very hefty mistake because is it a good buy? It is, ma.
Yeah,
Everybody will say freehold
because
is
it's very
fantastic.
rare, especially.
Yes. But then what happened is, if you're looking at the transaction data of freehold factories, it actually takes a longer time for you to profit.
Okay.
So then without his own clarity, because initially he thought it's going to be for his own use, but upon buying, he went in, right, he realized the space was too small.
Okay, expansion is a good problem also.
Yes. Okay, so then what happened, because it's a freehold property, it's more expensive, rental use naturally drops.
Yes.
And so it becomes, every month he has to pay for the installment and then still got to make sure that
fork out
the
more.
unit is being rented out.
I see.
Yeah, so this is a portion where you're buying without clarity.
With all this, with us asking all these questions, and we are able to clear about what, the client wants.
Okay,
Next,
so
what
once
do we do?
I think once you're very clear on your goals and your purpose, the next is really to look at the different factories that is available. You can have factories in Tuas, you can have factories in Tefu, and you can have freeholds in Industrial Road, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, B1 versus B2, freehold versus 30 versus 60 years, these are all options that is readily available.
I think there's a lot of options to be choosing from.
So I would say you have to be very clear on what is your needs first before you choose the option. Okay, of course, then once we have identified the options again, you have to look at the evaluation. So evaluation of each and every or industrial property that comes in.
I think this is where the numbers come in, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and of course the rental demand, surrounding supply,
Yes.
and also the tenant's profile that you'll be looking at.
So one thing to note is using evaluation, cheap might not be good, expensive might not be good either. So it still boils down to the numbers on how you can actually exit easily or even your rental yield.
Yeah,
right?
so it actually boils down to what actually makes more sense for you as a buyer.
Yes. So last but not least, we also have alignment. So you see, once
It's
you
not
choose, it's not last, right? It's the second last. Okay, so once you actually lease out all the properties and you do an evaluation, you've decided that this could be the property that you want to go in.
Yep.
Alignment is the next very important thing that you have to check on.
Yes, because you don't want this to become a financial burden instead. Yeah.
So you got to check out whether this purchase can fit your financial position and whether you can hold it comfortably in the event that you cannot sell it as fast as you want to.
or even if it's not tenanted out for a
Yes.
few months.
Yes. All right. So last but not least, finally, it is the reinforced portion. Okay. So what are the long-term driver is what we are looking at. Is there future demands in the market? And
Are you hoping for any growth that may never come?
yeah, just like the
actually?
Freehold factory
Yes.
that my client bought lah. Okay. So without this process, right, you're not investing.
You're just guessing.
And or I would say gambling lah. So in real estate, is something that you should never do. Don't ever gamble your decision.
So now even if a property does pass our C.L.E.A.R framework, right?
The sad thing is we still cannot buy immediately lah. Okay, because what adds on to the C.L.E.A.R framework, where we look at the location, exit, and the entry before we finally decide whether this is the property that you should even be touching.
Because location is not just about being central. Yeah, it's about whether the businesses that you are targeting, even if you're going to rent it out, will even want to be there or not.
Yes. So a very good example is, okay, based on location, right? Today you have Grade A business office in Tuas. I think that is something that is not feasible.
Yeah.
Or do you have a B1 industrial factory in CBD? Okay, this is
Correct.
something that you will not even want to consider.
Yes.
All right.
yes.
So the next thing is really on the entry price. Okay, what is the important part of entry price?
If you're buying at a level where there is a margin of safety or not.
Or are you rather overpaying because there's a launch that looks very attractive and you're following the hype?
Yes.
Yes. And last but not least is again the exit strategy.
Correct.
Okay,
You want to be able to exit.
Yes. So
fast.
you see a lot of buyers, be it residential, be it industrial, I think the most important part is where a lot of people miss out is really on the exit. Today you're buying based on hype, you're buying based on the context that everybody is buying, I'm buying. You're buying things that is new, looks beautiful, and you think that can earn money. But the real fact is, what is the future demand?
Yes, because in residential, right, almost everybody is your potential buyer. But in industrial, it's a
It's very
different
niche.
ballgame. Yeah.
Yes, very niche. Okay, I had to say today, if you were buying a factory and then it's a B2 factory, you expect to sell it to the mass market and people are not using because they don't need.
That's why I'm
this kind of
like,
spec.
yes.
Okay, so you have to be very clear on who are your future buyers before you even decide on going in.
And why they will need to buy from you.
Okay, so before you buy, so you must know who will buy from you, why would they buy, and at what price. Okay, if you don't have the answer, probably
Then
you
you're
should.
taking a very big risk.
Yeah, put on hold. Talk to us first.
Yes.
Okay. So common mistake that we see when you're buying industrial property. Number one is buying because it's cheap. You're looking at someone resale is less than 500,000 for a massive unit.
Yes.
Tax for 30 years lease lah.
But low PSF doesn't mean that it's actually a good value.
Yes, because the specification might be lower.
Yep.
Okay, when you are buying industrial, I think specification is something that you have to look into. Of course, right now over the podcast, it's not easy to go into the deep specification. So if you need to, do contact us for more info.
Yes.
And then number two is really ignoring the lease lah.
Because like we mentioned earlier, there's 30 years, there's 60 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so 30 years lease, then you go in at 20 years. I think left with 10 years, it's not even easy to get a loan.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think loan is available. All right, then the other thing is, what are you expecting out of the next 10 years? Okay, if you're buying based on pure rental yield, you might want to consider whether this amount of portion of money that you put in, is it safer in the bank or in stocks rather than in this
Will it
property?
actually make sense or not
Yes.
for you to get? Then number three, of course, you didn't plan for exit strategy when you buy the place.
Okay, so here's the truth lah. Industrial property is not bad. In fact, when done correctly, right, it is one of the strongest assets class that you can go into because of the strong rental yield.
Yes. But this happens only when you have clarity.
And you have to evaluate properly.
Yes.
And of course, you must enter with a clear exit plan. Without that, don't go in. All right. Talking about this, okay, this is what David and Audrie does. Okay, we don't just sell property. We structure decisions, and that's very important because without our decision or framework, whatever you're doing, right, is really on guesswork.
Yes, because in industrial property, right, the difference between a good and bad decision can easily be a few $100,000.
Yes. Okay, because can rent out, cannot rent out, can sell, cannot sell eventually.
Precisely.
Okay. So today, if you are considering an industrial property, don't rely on assumption or hearsay. Every unit, every project is completely different. So drop us a
Drop us a message and we'll walk you through using our C.L.E.A.R and L.E.X frameworks.
Yes. So that you know exactly what you're getting into before you decide on a industrial property. And last but not least, okay, today if you are looking into an industrial property or you have plans to buy an industrial property, we do have a new launch that's coming up and it clears our framework and evaluation perfectly. And it's called Gate Plus.
Gate Plus.
Okay, it's launching soon. So if you want more info, just PM us and we'll drop you the information. And this is David.
I'm Audrie.
Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
Bye.